Hi, my name is Lucy O'Brien, and I'm the owner and principal designer at Tartan & Toile. I actually had a weird way of coming to interior design. I didn't technically know that it was a job going into it. I, in college, did pre-architecture and pre-med, and then I had to make a decision and kind of just went through with the med route. I also picked up nursing in the process, and I worked as a nurse for a while I was taking the MCATs and everything. And then I was about to get married, and my husband and I got a house, and I started renovating the house. And I realized that that is actually what I love to do. So eventually over time, I started doing neighbors' houses while I was working as a nurse. And then it just sort of evolved into, I discovered that interior design was an actual job. And I went to High Point and just went full for it. I really loved, so one of my first projects I did was renovating my kitchen, and I put toile wallpaper in it. And I just love tartan, everything tartan, especially around Christmas. So when I was thinking of a name, me and my husband were talking about it, and he was like, why don't you do tartan and toile? Because they're your two favorite patterns. So it kind of worked, and I went with it. But it's funny because not everybody knows what toile is. So, I'll get phone calls like toilet and stuff like that. And I'm just like, oh gosh, maybe I should change the name. My design superpower is being able to focus and fully have the design aspect of it while also fully having the business aspect of it. So I think a lot of times you get one or the other a lot of times, and it's hard to make sure you have both fully. So, there's some designers who only do really, really beautiful work, but then they have a hard time with the business part. Or implementing it. And I think that is my superpower, is basically fully focusing on the design while being able to fully implement it on a business standpoint and be profitable while basically not having any part of the design diminished, essentially. And basically a lot of that, how we do that is with custom. Pretty much 90% of what we do now is custom. We're just constantly rethinking different things and trying to take what was existing and make it completely different. And, a lot of times we'll look back on all these historical embellishments and entities and just sort of make them our own. And, a lot of contractors, all the trades that we work with are like, oh, I've never done that before. I'm like, yes, we always hear that. Just please do it. I know it's possible. One of the biggest things we were doing recently is making this valance bed contraption with these, it's a shore house. So we're making them with this sort of a yacht flooring, and also these valances coming from these star-shaped ceilings, and just having to create that from what we were building. I mean, we had to have 4 people involved in creating this. And we get a lot of pushback, but I just refuse to let that stop us, because it is possible. Everything's possible. You just have to figure it out. We go to New York. The goal is to go every month. We do not do that, but, try to go to New York. We go to a lot of antique stores and things like that around here, because I'm really trying to constantly push beyond the normal. And, if you are in one area and you go to all the showrooms in that area, it's just what everybody's doing. And so I'm constantly trying to source from all over the place, and go to different places to be able to do that, because you kind of get stuck in a rut, and I just never want to be stuck like that. The colonial architecture is my favorite. My house is technically, it's a in-between Victorian / colonial. It's technically what they call a shingle house. But I just love, the things I love about it are the woodworking details, all the molding, like just like the details of the molding is incredible when you walk into an old home. You know, my house in particular has these moldings that are actually rounded, and that's just sort of like unseen nowadays. You know, I have these great, all the windows and just like all of these super custom things nowadays are just standard in old homes a lot of times. And just the quality and the craftsmanship, you know, it's not the majority of homes these days. And I just love all these elements that you know just kind of get with the package when you have an older home. And you also get a lot of work. That's another thing I love about old homes is like there's always a story. You know, if they've lasted this long, they've been lived in, they've been loved. And, you know, it's somewhere along the way, usually they haven't been loved, and that's where you get it. My house in particular were the third owners, and just the history of the two first owners is incredible. Like one of them was involved in the Underground Railroad in Delaware, the family was, and then, you know, just we literally have every document from the house. So I have letters from the first owner to the second owner. I have the original blueprints from, you know, 120 years ago. And so it's just like a magical, like stewardship we get to have to like take this house and be the next owners and build it up. And the second owner in particular was kind of quirky. I live in a college town, and he was a Swarthmore professor, and he was a biology professor, but he retired early to restore old homes, and he was really into electricity. So he like jacked up my whole house. I have like my heater is running on bike chains. The doors are all wired in with like, he had this whole like electrical system to have the light switch on when the door opened. So it's just like this magical like puzzle. And that's kind of what I think is sort of fun, because they're just not cookie cutter. You know, you never know what you're getting. And, you know, it's a lot of work, but it's kind of a fun adventure. If you looked at all the projects we're doing and just like the level of projects, a lot of people probably think that like I'm working 100 hours a week, but I actually don't believe in a 9-to-5 workday. I think it's unproductive. So I have like pretty strict limits on myself on how much I'm in the office, because I just really think as creatives, we can get really, really burnt out. And, you know, sort of, I try to have quality over quantity in my hours. And we've actually, in that process, we've increased our revenue expansion like a lot and increased our project sizes while having, you know, a little bit more of a structured, not traditional 9-to-5 workday. And even with my employees, you know, I delegate a lot. I have outsourcing a lot of things and only do the high level work. But, you know, even with my employees, you know, if they have a sick kid or something like that, they know they can just do whatever they need to do. And I know that they're going to work just as hard when they come back, if they have that sort of space and that time to like take care of themselves. So I definitely am fighting against the corporate idea, but I just feel like humans aren't actually meant to work 9-to-5, Monday through Friday. I basically have set meeting times that you have to be prepared for. But you know, if you need to go to the doctors and come in at 10, that's fine. If you want to start, you know, if you're a morning person, you want to start at 7:30, that's fine. And so giving people that sort of like time flex that they want to do, you know, you have to show up to meetings, you have to show up to site visits, but we kind of have a set day that we do site visits and a set like structure in our day so that we can sort of have this open, flexible time to like let our brains do what we do best when we do best. And, you know, me in particular, I am out a lot, just like trying to get inspiration constantly. You know, I swim, I run in nature, like all of that is where I really get all my energy from. And, you know, when I started the business, I was just like in the office constantly working. But then I realized when I stepped back and worked, you know, smarter, not harder, I was doing better.